Shinder here at NAMM 2013 at the Sonor booth with Gavin Harrison here on Drum Talk TV. Thank you so much for making time out of the crazy schedules that go on with NAMM.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate it. I know you have a new snare drum that you've developed, a new snare drum line really that you've developed with Sonor,
Yep.
and I want to hear all about it, and I'm not unique, which means if I want to know about it, our audience wants to know about it. So
Okay.
let's just dive right into the product first,
Yeah.
then we'll talk some drumming and music.
This is a drum I've been working on with Sonor for 14 months. It's called Protean. Protean comes from Greek mythology, and it means versatile, quickly changeable, right? Now, this is really my dream come true, to any drummer's dream, right? To design your own snare drum. So there's no compromises. This is exactly what I wanted to do.
That's
now,
awesome.
Now the snare drum is made of hand-selected premium birch.
Okay.
This is 6-ply in 6 millimeters, right? Now, it has, on the top, it has a rounded bearing edge,
Oh wow, yeah.
right? So that's like a vintage style
Right.
bearing edge. And I like the fact that more skin is in contact with the edge, and you can, with the right kind of tuning and dampening, get a really fat sound
Right.
out of quite a shallow drum, which is normally the hard thing to do.
Yes.
Normally you have to have like a big deep drum to get a fat sound, but then the ghost notes are horrible on a big
Right,
deep drum,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So this is the holy grail for me, to be able to get a fat sound from a shallow drum and still have all the articulation.
And that's where the versatility comes in.
Yeah, so rounded bearing edge on the top, sharp 45-degree bearing edge on the bottom, because the bottom head does obviously a completely different job to the top head.
Right.
And the bottom head is all about sensitivity. So that's why we went with the sharp, it's a hybrid bearing edge system,
So you
right?
get the resonance off the bottom head.
Yeah, and you get the ghost notes and the articulations coming through. Okay, so that's the bearing edge. Now, there's also hybrid hoops. On the top here, we have the S hoop. And with the S hoop, you know, the flange comes this way in rather than that way out. And on the bottom, there's a triple flange hoop, but with cutouts.
Yeah, I noticed that. The rims are cut out, yeah.
Yeah, and
Is
that
that for
means-
quick change?
Well, that means you can take advantage of the fabulous dual glide system, and you can take off the snare wires
Wow.
like that.
It's like a magic trick.
Well, you've never seen a snare come off that quick.
Not that quick.
If you're a drummer who's ever tried to change snare wires, you know that's like a 20-minute job, and you need 3 hands.
Yeah, in the middle of a gig, that's difficult.
It's a nightmare. Changing snare wires on a drum has always been a nightmare. Now, it's never been easier. Now, with this drum, I've designed 3 special snare wires. This is the bronze snare wire. This is 8-strand. They're all 8-strand because I like the sound of 8-strand. You get more sound of drum and less of snare, but there's enough snare sound coming off even with 8-strand.
Right.
So these are bronze strands, 4 with a gap of 4 down the middle, and then another 4. So this is called EQ. And this gives you quite a dry sound, kind of, you know, if you're playing funky music, that kind of thing.
Right.
And with the Protean, you get this box. And the box contains the other 2 snare wire combinations. This is the straight 8. This is straight steel wires, straight 8 down the middle. It comes with the clips, same as here, so I could put this on in 5 seconds. This is the brass spacer snare wires. A snare, then a gap, then a snare, then a gap. So these are spaced out. These are all together, and these are separated. And that gives you 3 different sounds with 3 different materials, right? Steel, bronze, and brass.
If you don't mind me asking, Gavin, how much research and development went into deciding the alloy and the result and the pattern of the wires and the result, or did you just draw this out and know the result you're going to get?
I've been using, you know, like this kind of combination, straight 8 steel down the middle, because steel is the most common snare wires you can get. And in the old days, I would get like a 16-strand snare wire, and I would pull them off. I would actually cut them off either side to leave 8 strands straight down the middle, because I got addicted to the sound of having 8 strands. Also, it helps on the toms, you get less buzzing, sympathetic snare vibration. That's really annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in the studio.
Exactly. So the reason I first started doing it was to see if I could reduce that. But what I discovered was I really like the sound of just 8 wires. So that's, something that I've been working on. I tried lots of different material, including guitar wires and nylon straps, and I could get a lot of different sounds, but I didn't like them.
Yeah.
I mean, we made one with 12 guitar strings, and it sounded funky, but it didn't sound good.
Didn't sound good, yeah.
And I didn't want to make something different just because it was different if I didn't like it.
Yeah, you want a good result.
So I got 3, I've got a studio at home, so I can record the snare drum with all these different wires on and compare them one after another, right? And these were my favorite combination of all the snare wires that I tried. Now, there's something else to tell you, and that with the S-hoop, you can take advantage of the fact that it's got, this lip, and I really like dampening rings, 0 ring.
Right.
And when you put them in, they go under the flange.
And they're not going to go anywhere, right?
Right.
Oh, that's brilliant, yeah.
You probably know what it's like when you put that on a normal drum.
Yeah. It dances.
Yeah, 2 rim shots and it's in the front row.
Right.
Right. Now, the nice thing about dampening a drum with a ring is that the ring jumps, it gates, right? And it's completely scientific in the way that it's reacting with the head equally all the way round.
So it's gauged this way. It's like it's monitored.
When you put on big pieces of gel or big pieces of gaffer tape, it's very hard to repeat that, right? You might have a nice sound. You change the head. You try to put the gel or the gaffer tape back
in the same place, and it's not.
Yeah. Also, maybe I'm playing a song where this is the thinnest ring, right? Or maybe I'm playing a song without the ring. And then I want to go to like...
Oh, so you have different thicknesses and gauges?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's great.
3 different rings. Medium, this is the heavy one, that's the light one, and here's the medium one. And I tested these a lot to get exactly the right size. Yeah. Now, you can put them one on top of the other if you really want to sort of start combining it.
What a great idea that is.
So, if you're playing a song without the ring on, and then you want to put the heavy dampening ring on, and then later in the set you want to go with the light ring, and then you want to go back, all these are completely repeatable. Right. You can get that sound time and time again. Now, on the bottom of the heaviest dampening ring, there are some faint numbers.
Right, I see those, yeah.
And this is to explain my tuning method.
Okay.
Because along with the Protean snare drum comes the Protean keys.
Oh. So I saw those laying around. I thought they were earplugs and the orange part went in. No?
Well, yeah, you'd look pretty silly like that, right? Or maybe that's a good look.
You'd be in tune.
Is that a good look?
It's a good look,
okay,
actually.
Good. Now, the whole idea behind these was that I could do this, right? That's quite quick.
Right.
One little movement, and I'm turning the key like 10 times.
Got the rod all the way up, yep.
Save on the way down. That's faster than I can do with a drill.
Yeah.
Now, I like to start off by going finger tight.
Right.
And this means I can do finger tight here instead of here, like where...
Yeah, which is hard to gauge and hard to feel sometimes,
well,
really how tight it is or isn't.
You get your fingers covered in grease.
Right.
And if you do it a lot, they chew your fingers up. Yeah. And that's not what you want as a drummer.
Right.
So what I do is, I've got these numbers. I always tune in opposites. So there's a 1 and a 1.
Got it.
And a 2. 3 and a 3. 4 and a 4. 5 and a 5. And that's the most logical crisscross.
And less chance of affecting the rim in an adverse way by tightening one side too tight and
So I always tune with 2 keys and I start off getting the same amount of resistance. I don't go crank, crank, and then come over here. Right. I do them together in pairs, and I get just the same amount of resistance. Then I go to number 2 and get to the same level. Then number 3, then number 4, then number 5. Then the drum is really kind of finger tight, but just using these top parts.
Right.
So I haven't hurt my fingers yet.
Yeah, I want to see how they feel. Yeah, that's very ergonomically correct.
Some drum keys have got like knurled parts on the top, but you're back to the same thing. If you do a lot of it, you start wearing your skin out.
Right.
When I do drum clinic tours, I'm tuning 14 skins in 1 hour every day. Right. After about 5 drum clinics, I haven't got any skin left on my fingers. Right. So this is a really nice way to tune. So once I've got it all finger tight, I just go up in very small increments, always the same amount, let's say a quarter turn, just a little bit. Because if you just go crank, 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 crank here, and then you come over here, crank, 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 you know, the skin's getting pulled
Right.
in a very unhappy way.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
getting pulled over here, it's getting pulled over there. Now you've got a real precision German engineering piece of equipment here, built to absolute fantastic high tolerance qualities. So you've got a really good chance of getting a good drum sound because the shell is absolutely round, all the hardware fits like a dream, and if you just follow this method, you know, even a beginner, you're going to get a good drum sound.
Absolutely,
There's
consistency.
good science behind it, yeah.
Right. And I noticed there's different size snares. Can we talk about that?
This is a 14 by 5 1/4,
Okay.
and these are 12 by 5.
These are 12 by 5.
Yeah, same thing, the same 3 snare combinations, the steel, the bronze and the brass, all in 12 inches. Now, they come in 2 different packages. One is called standard, and the other one's called premium. In the standard package, you get the drum, plus the steel 8 wires, and the 3 dampening rings, and the 2 keys.
In the standard.
In the standard,
Okay.
and that's one price. For a slightly higher price, you get the beautiful hard case, Protean hard case, and you get the snare box, which sinks into the bottom of the case. It's kind of buried inside the foam.
Right.
So-
Literally a kit. It's always all together.
yeah, I mean, I want all these options if I'm playing in the band or I'm doing a session. And I think the snare could be a bit darker or brighter or softer. You know, I've got all these things and I can do this in a second. I could even change snare wires in between songs
Right.
if I wanted to.
Right. Or during the bridge.
Sure, why not?
Do you currently have both sizes set up with any of your setups?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in Porcupine Tree, that's basically my kit over there, the blue one.
Right.
And I have the 14 in front of me, and I have the 12 by 5 off to the left. That's how I would use them in Porcupine Tree. Sometimes in drum clinics, I use the 12 by 5 as my main snare.
What's happening with Porcupine Tree?
Don't worry, we haven't split up.
Good.
There will be more.
Good, good. What else are you working on? Do you have anything coming up that people can tap into?
Yeah, I've got a band with a guy called 05 Rick. You can get all this information from my website, gavharrison.com. There's a news page, it's got all the dates and all the clinics that I'll be doing, so check it out, come along.
Great. It must have been very exciting being a part of developing something from the artistic side into the engineering side with the brand, you know, that's
Absolutely.
behind you, and of course you support the brand, and then here you come together to work out something that goes from an idea to an actual product.
Oh,
I mean, it's brilliant.
great.
It must be really exciting.
It's a dream come true.
Yeah.
And really, this is exactly, I'm completely 100% pleased with how it's come out. There's been no compromise. I wanted a nice black, classic look.
It's very Art Deco, as it also
Yeah.
notes that in the brochure, the shape of the lugs, the matte finish.
Yeah, it's hard to leave any fingerprints on it. And I wanted a drum that drummers could have that would fit with their set. Now, if I made a drum that was pink with green stripes on it, it probably is not going to go with your red,
Right.
blue,
Right.
yellow drum kit, right? So it's got to be classic, simple kind of drum and, you know, a neutral color.
And it lives up to the name again in regards to the versatility.
The Protean is, yeah, that's the versatile part of it, you know. You could use this with any kit.
Thank you so much for joining us on Drum Talk TV. Tap into what Gavin's got going on. Anytime you watch this video, his information's magically right here on the screen. So it's not going to go out of date, because when you enter that address into your address bar on the internet, it's going to take you right to everything he's got going on. I'm Dan Chinder here with Gavin Harrison on Drum Talk TV at NAMM 2013 in the Sonor booth. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.